And welcome back to the North Star Takes podcast with Bailey Palicki and Jacob Liberta. You can find all our videos here on our channel, and feel free to give us a follow on both Twitter and Instagram as well, as we're trying to build a nice Minnesota sports community there as well. So today we will be discussing our continuing Minnesota Vikings positional breakdown. And today we'll be getting into the linebackers, which is probably not the flashiest position on the team if we're being honest. It's kind of nice because we've had the constants of Anthony Barr and Eric Kendricks for the last 7 years. Barr's obviously had some injury issues. Kendricks missed a few games last year when it was basically meaningless anyways. Mm-hmm. I guess how can you speak to how good these two have been and how solid they've been over the last 7 years, and how basically Mike Zimmer has just had that comfort of knowing that those two are going to be in there and just do their jobs.
Yeah, I think comfort's the right word. I think these guys have been stalwarts on this defense for a long time now. Like you mentioned, 7 years, and they're just a steady presence that you know exactly what you're going to get every Sunday out of these two, and they're just consistent performers. They're going to know what to do. They're going to make the right plays almost all the time. Yep. So I really think that's a thing Zimmer doesn't even really have to think about, because he just knows they're going to do their job, and they're not going to have some game-breaking blunder that's going to totally bend you over and screw you. But I think those guys are just the definition of franchise players. For sure. And you just don't find that very often in the NFL, where you have, for instance, two linebackers here that play on the same team 7 years in a row together. Like, I really can't think of any off the top of my head.
And they were also college teammates and are very good friends, so that's helpful as well.
Exactly. So I think that's an incredible thing we have on this defense that I think helps us a lot. Mm-hmm. I know linebacker can kind of be a forgotten position in football in the NFL, but I just think that these guys really lead as well. I think they definitely vocal leaders on this defense that help bring everybody together, especially when times are tough and maybe we hit some rough games. But I think these guys, them being here 7 years in a row, is just a testament to them being good, solid football players. I mean, what do you think? Yeah,
for sure. Anthony Barr is a captain, and he has been for the last several seasons. Yep. Eric Kendricks, you could argue, should be a captain as well. These guys are they're just the ultimate professionals. They do their jobs. They're very good at their jobs. Eric Kendricks is one of the best linebackers in the NFL.
Absolutely. I think he gets slept on, too.
Anthony Barr is one of the most athletic linebackers in the NFL, and I don't think the Vikings truly use him to his full potential.
No.
I think he's capable of doing a lot more pass rushing situations and stuff like that.
That's amazing. He was Zimmer's first draft pick here, too.
He was, yeah. Zimmer's got a bond with him, even though they've had some differences over the years. Zimmer called him out for coasting one of his first years in the league.
He knows he can handle tough love.
Yeah, but in the end, Barr just about left for the Jets, changed his mind and came back. And I know he's only got this year left on his contract, but it'll be kind of interesting to see if the Vikings try at all to bring him back. I'll be kind of curious what kind of a contract he's expecting, because I wouldn't be willing to pay him a whole lot. But if he just wants to stay here and still get paid a decent amount of money, but clearly not what he's making right now, I think that'd be fantastic to keep him around, because he's still a good player. He still produces. And just keeping him and Kendricks together, I think, would be absolutely ideal. And then not to mention, we don't really have anybody truly behind them that we can count on yet.
Not right now, no.
So it'd be nice to keep those two in the fold for a while here. Obviously, I think Kendricks could end up being like a lifelong Viking, kind of like Harrison Smith's going to end up being.
Yes.
Anthony Barr, it'll be interesting. What do you think is going to end up happening with him?
Probably just depends how the season goes. I think if we maybe get close or less to the Super Bowl, if we don't reach a Super Bowl, I should say, I think it's more likely he comes back just to keep coming until we finally get there, because I think he truly does want to at least get to a championship for sure, like win a championship in Minnesota, because I think that was important to him being, honestly, being Zim's first draft pick. I feel like you said, there's that bond there. It's like, I want to win with this guy, and I want to win big, and then you feel like you finally hit your goal, and then you feel like you can move on. So I feel like if they won a Super Bowl, I could see him leaving, but at the same time, I don't know. It's just, it kind of depends. I don't really know how this will shake out, and probably depends on his health too. I think if, let's say, he stays healthy this year and has a good season, and then he can command a lot of money, I don't think the Vikings will probably fork it over, but I could see some other team maybe doing that. So that could also dictate it too. But I think Kendricks, like you said, is more likely to be a Viking for life, which is pretty cool, because he's an all-pro linebacker. Yeah, that'd be so awesome. So we'll kind of get into the guys that are behind them now. They signed Nick Vigil this offseason from the Bengals. He's never really been more than like a third linebacker, special teams type guy. You got Troy Dye, who was a rookie last year. They drafted in the 4th round.
Chaz Sarat, who they drafted in the 3rd round this year.
Yep.
Was a quarterback for a little while in college. Now he's a linebacker. I don't think he really did much at all during OTAs. I don't think he was there much, so I'm not sure what the deal was with that. So I'm sure he'll be behind to start off with here. So and then they have other guys in the fold like Cameron Smith, and then some other practice squad guys that actually had to end up playing last year, like Blake Lynch. Was Hardy Nickerson one of them?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so they had just had, it was kind of a disaster last year at the linebacker position at the end of the season. But out of these 3 main guys behind him, we'll say Vigil, Troy Dye, and Chaz Sarat. Who are you most interested in out of that group?
Probably, I don't know. I think, like you said at the top of this video, it's just a lot of unproven talent behind Kendricks and Barr. But picking from these 3 guys specifically, based off of these are probably the 3 guys you'll see the most past the top 2.
Yeah.
I think the one I'm most excited about is Sarat, just because he was the 3rd round pick. And honestly, it was kind of a surprise. So, I mean, they must have liked his traits. They must have liked his potential there.
For sure.
So, I just think he's probably the most interesting. But then Dye, maybe in year 2, gets a little bit more comfortable in this defense and plays a little bit better. So, that could be big too. But you kind of want to see among any of these guys. Vigil hopefully will be a good special teamer. But I think you could see with Sarat or Dye here this season, maybe one of them asserts themselves as maybe the heir apparent to Anthony Barr. So, I think that would be something to watch. So probably lean towards Sarat. She's the 3rd round pick in a draft where you probably didn't expect us to take a linebacker that high. But I mean, I could really get behind him or Dye. How about you?
Yeah, I would agree with you on Sarat. To me, I feel like he's kind of built like Anthony Barr almost. He's not quite as big, but he's extremely athletic. He looks like he can make all the plays that Anthony Barr makes. Troy Dye, I think, is interesting too. Obviously, he didn't look very good last season. He had a lot of grades, low grades with PFF.
Yeah.
Some grades in the 20s. I mean, he had some rough games. I don't know. He was a good linebacker for Oregon in college, and I just think there's a lot more untapped potential there. I just think he needs to get comfortable, learn the system more. I mean, he really got thrown into a crappy situation last year with how awful the defense was as a whole.
Yeah.
And so I wouldn't read too much into it yet. I think there's definitely some potential there.
I think there's something to be said, too, with this linebacker group getting better this year, obviously, because there's going to be more talent playing on the field. But secondly, because our front four is going to be so much better that it's going to make things so much easier for them. And they won't really be defending from allowing the big play because the defensive line has some breakdowns. They'll actually be able to take more chances because the defensive line will be a little bit more steady and make the routine plays so they can take chances where they might see fit and have some opportunities to make plays that really flash on the screen. So I think that's another big thing to consider too. It's just, like you said, the defense around them.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, the defensive line is obviously just going to be huge for the whole rest of the defense this season because they can clog up the running lanes, which help Barr and Kendricks get to the runner quicker. Obviously, rushing the passer is huge, not leaving your linebackers out to dry, covering a receiver or something like we've seen several times.
Exactly.
Seeing Troy Dye just looking lost, covering guys running across the middle of the field.
Boy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, though. I think if at least one of these guys can step up and just show something, I would take that for sure. And Barr missed basically the whole season last year, so hopefully that means he'll stay mostly healthy this season. And Kendricks has been very reliable, obviously, throughout his career. So if you can just develop one of those guys into a solid third linebacker, it's just another strong spot on this defense that has gotten much stronger since last year.
Exactly. That's all you need, especially when we play on a nickel defense a lot. I just think we need Barr and Kendrick stay healthy and just kind of do what they do, and we'll be fine because we'll probably play a lot of 3 cornerback sets. So I think that's really all that needs to be said about who's going to play a lot. But, I mean, obviously these 3 guys, if they can contribute anything, like maybe fill Eric Wilson role that we just lost, I think that'd be big too.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So that's going to do it for this edition of the North Star Takes podcast. Be sure to like our videos and stay tuned for more content by subscribing to our channel. Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram as well, and feel free to drop a comment below about how you feel about the Vikings linebackers and if you think one of these young guys can step up and prove themselves this season.